Welcome to Gay Men Going Deeper, a podcast by the Gay Men's Brotherhood that showcases raw and real conversations about personal development, mental health, and sexuality from an unapologetically gay perspective. I'm your host, Michael Diorio, and joining me today are Matt Lancetal and Reno Johnston. Today, we're talking about leveling up your dating profile, and we're going to be exploring questions like what catches your attention beyond good looks when you're scrolling through profiles? And what's the biggest mistake you see people make on their profiles? We've been focusing this month on dating apps, and today we want to give your dating app a glow up. That's what our purpose is here today, okay? If you're new here, welcome, and please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please subscribe and leave us a review, which helps us get into the ears of people who need us. All right. In our last episode, we talked about addiction to dating apps. And so, before we jump into this one, if this is the first time you're joining us, we just want to acknowledge that there are many issues with dating apps. And, we want to remind everyone that it's not necessary to be on dating apps to meet guys. There's lots of other ways to do it. And yes, apps do have a tendency to bring out the worst in us, but that's not what we're talking about here today. Okay. Today, we want to talk to anyone who's out there saying, yeah, okay, I get all that, and I'm still going to use these dating apps. So for you guys, what we want to help you with today is help you make the most of that experience, specifically with your profile. So a couple of facts and figures. A 2019 study found that 65% of same-sex relationships met online. And I'm willing to bet that it is 5 years from that. That number has likely gone up. I'm willing to bet. This was also pre-COVID. Don't forget 2019. Also, another study suggested that men spend approximately 6 seconds on a Tinder profile. I thought that was kind of long, but interesting. And then another study said that Grindr, of all the dating apps, has the most usage and the most time spent on the app than the average user of the top 3 dating apps combined after that. So Grindr had more usage than Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge combined. Crazy. And the average, I saw a lot of different figures, but it was around 60 minutes per day for the average Grindr user.
Wow.
Right. So
That
this is
doesn't
important.
surprise me.
No, Grindr for sure does not surprise me because I think the way it's built, I have found that, and we talked about that last week as well, right? That's why I'm on my hiatus. But as we said, even if you are going to be on these apps, then yeah, we want to help you make the most of that experience, and specifically by helping you really create curate a profile that is authentic to you and that attracts the right people to you. So I've dedicated many coaching hours to this very topic of dating apps. I've actually run workshops on this during COVID, and I've decided as I was preparing for this, I'm going to bring it back. It's been like 4 years since I've run this workshop, and I'm going to give it a one-time appearance only. And what that is it's 10 to 15 guys, one session. We do a deep dive on your dating app profile. I'll walk you through 4 different categories that we use as an assessment. And then you also get a little workbook that you can keep for reference. So if you're interested in that, I'll put it in the show notes. All right. So men will often tell us, I can't find any good guys who want more than just sex. I can't find anyone online. I'm not finding people online. There's a big issue with finding guys online. And they're all telling me this individually. And it got me thinking, if so many of you are looking for the same thing, why aren't you finding each other? Why are you finding me and telling me this when you should be theoretically finding each other because you want the same kinds of things? So when I dig in and I start asking questions, and when we review and analyze your profile, when I actually dig in and look at it, and when you show me how you're interacting on these apps, the answer becomes very clear to me. Okay. A lot of you guys are hiding yourselves on the apps. You're hiding, right? You want to connect, but yet you hide behind blank profiles, bad pictures, vague profiles that tell me nothing about you, poor photos that you have your hat and your glasses and you're all the way back there. I can't tell you from like the tree beside you. And on top of that, you used what I call half-assed communication. You're not communicating in the way that I know you can. Okay. And what's worse is when these connections don't happen, we tend to make it mean something's wrong with us, right? So something must be wrong with me. I'm not making these connections online. I'm the problem. Like fundamentally, I'm the problem. Versus saying, okay, maybe the way I'm interacting is the problem, or maybe my photos need a bit of a refresh, right? But we make it mean it's me, like inherently something is bad about me. And that's not going to be very helpful. Our shame loves to use this kind of stuff as a weapon against ourselves when you know we don't want to do that here. And this can create a sense of despair and hopelessness. Again, we talked about this in our last episode. But if you're listening to this and you're at that point now, you're like, yeah, I'm at the despair and hopelessness. We want to give you permission. It's totally fine to take a hiatus. Maybe now is the time to take that hiatus. Take a little break. But, but when you come back, don't just come back with the same profile. Give it a glow up, elevate it, level it up, which is what we're talking about here today. So all three of us, as far as our last, I mean, as last time we chatted, we are all on the apps, various apps. So Matt Reno and I know we are out there. We are watching you guys. We are seeing this all unfold in real time. And, like I said, we know a lot of you are not putting yourselves out there in the way that's doing you any favors. And so we're here to help today. So, with that said, let's go into our very first question, which is what catches your attention beyond good looks when you're scrolling through profiles? Let's start with Reno today.
Okay, so crazy, crazy idea. Um, and I might do this after I answer this question like a little bit. But I actually have my Hinge profile here. I
Yes.
pulled it up and I was like, "Oh, I want to show it to you. I'm really curious about like what you experienced in observing it." So I'll pull it up in just a second.
Okay. Yeah.
And now maybe everyone's flocking to YouTube as they're listening to
Give
this.
everyone a
Like,
chance to
okay,
get onto YouTube here. Yeah.
yeah, right. So yeah, I think originality is one because I mean, if you think about it this way, and it sounds really kind of odd to make this comparison, but like let's say you're an employer who's going through a list of resumes, right? Like this long pile of resumes. At some point, like you're gonna get bored. And something's going to stand out to you, right? And so I think it's similar. We're sort of swiping left and right, and I think originality really makes a person stand out. So I don't know what that looks like, but I mean, maybe look at everyone else's profiles and see what they're up to. I see a lot of people with pictures of like their dogs or like I don't know, the mountains, which I'm not gonna lie, like when you see mine, there's a picture of me like in the mountains for sure, right? So I'm no shade, but I'm just saying. Um, I think, yeah, just doing something unique, whatever that looks like, to kind of stand out. But something that's true to you. And that I think that would be the next thing I would say is authenticity, I think is really important. I can definitely sniff it out. Like I can tell when someone's kind of bullshitting on their profile, or it just doesn't really feel authentic to me. Playfulness is a big one, I would say, is a big one. Like playfulness, humor, huge. When I see someone who makes jokes or seems to have fun and there's like a lightheartedness about, that's really attractive to me. The use of imagery to share how you live and what you enjoy, like authentically too, right? Which is why you probably only see one picture of me, like in the mountains, because let's be honest, like I don't hike all the time, and I'm not gonna pretend that I do, because when you meet me, you'll be sadly disappointed. Like, I like hiking, but my ass loves to chill, That's me, cozy, as Matt would say, right? So. Um, I'm not going to pretend that that I'm like hiking with some dog that I don't have, right? But I think, yeah, just snapshots of you, like, whether it's in the kitchen or out for a walk or on the beach or whatever it is you love to do. I think that demonstrates, like, how you live your life can be really powerful. Um, Spirituality, that's a big one. Like whenever I see someone mention something spiritual or philosophical on their profile, I'm immediately turned on and intrigued. You have promptly set yourself apart from everybody else. It's a definite filter for me. Or if you mention the housewives, like we can hang. Yeah. Um, and then the use of video and audio. I really love that Hinge has made that. I guess Grinder too. I'm just thinking the videos that I see on there are different than the ones I see on Hinge, um, for sure. But like on Hinge, like the use of video and audio, I love when people use that feature because I can hear your voice and I can see you, and maybe I get a sense of an activity that you're up to. So definitely those. Um, so turning to the screen, this is my okay, so there's a bit of a glare, but this is my Hinge profile. So there's a picture of me in the mountains, and then there's a list of what does it say? Pick the
Pick the best one.
yeah, right. And then you have long walks, deep conversations, and what's the last one?
Weekend getaways.
Yeah.
Right. So then I have an audio where I talk a bit about what I'm up to in my life. And then this one is uh what am I saying there?
I
Uh,
booked a one-way
Uh
flight to
oh,
Bali.
most right, most spontaneous thing I've done. So yeah, then this is my profile, or this is the section of my profile with like what I do for work and what I'm looking for.
Love
Hmm,
it.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's a photo of me dressed up and ready to go out to dinner. It's one of these like elevator mirror pics. There's me talking smack on the microphone. Um, then oh, dating me is like taking MDMA.
Mm.
There's me working out at the gym, right? I think it says like me in the wild or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, and wait, what does this say? Oh, I geek out on God.
Mm.
Mm.
um, which was so edgy to put on my profile because I was like, oh, it's definitely gonna filter out a lot of people. Maybe, but you know, like maybe a lot of people will be interested. Then yeah, there's a pic of me in Bali, and then one of me giving a speech at my birthday party last year. So that's
Cool.
my profile.
I would say that counts as originality and authenticity. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
knowing what I know about you, I love that you were very honest and authentic about who you are. And like you said, that acts as a wonderful filter. If people don't like that
Totally.
answer, they're gonna just keep swiping, and then it saves you both a lot of time.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, definitely.
I think people might have a hard time understanding for themselves what makes me original or authentic because we're in it. We are ourselves. So, if you're like that, I was thinking I would ask my best friend or ask you guys or ask someone like what makes me different? Like what's
Yeah.
something that makes me original? Because I might not know because I'm me, right?
Mhm. Mm.
That's a good point, actually. I'm glad you made that point. And I think if you're looking for originality, excuse me, something I would say is to lean into your edges. Like lean into the places where you feel uncomfortable or where you feel like you're hiding or holding back. I would like challenge you to bring a little bit of that forward. Because I mean, also, they're gonna find out
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
right? And to be honest, I think that that might be really hot to them. Like I remember someone being surprised at how like playful and edgy I was, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting that that's like not more obvious." But it was food for thought. I was like, "Oh, okay. How am I presenting?
Hmm.
You know, and am I holding this part of myself back a little bit to seem more like deep and serious when really like I'm super fun too, you know?" So, yeah.
It's hard, I think, with these profiles that we are such complex people and to try to summarize that into like you have 6 seconds. You have 6 seconds to tell somebody this is who I am. Please swipe on me, right? It's
Mhm.
really hard, and I get why it's very daunting for a lot of people. But hopefully, this conversation will help.
Yeah, totally.
Matt, how about
Mm.
you? What catches your attention beyond good looks when you're scrolling through profiles?
Hmm. Well, I just wanted to say I love your profile, Reno.
Well, thank
I love
you.
Hinge. It's my favorite out of all of them, but it's the least used in my opinion.
Agreed.
Which is like kind of sad because you keep swiping and then it eventually ends. I'm like, damn it, because I find those profiles captivate me. The other ones usually like there's a lot on Tinder Grinder, Scruff that are just like blank profiles or they don't have a lot. So I feel like I want that, which kind of leads me to like, well, maybe what I'll preface what with this. So my answers were all within the context of the dating apps. I see the dating apps as like, like ones like that are not hookup apps, like Grinder, Scruff, Sniffies, all those, like those are not included in my answers today because I wouldn't go there looking for dates, in my opinion. I'd go there looking for hookups. Um, but the first one that I wrote down is availability. How someone can show me that they are available would be that they put effort into their profile. I think effort is a big one. So that's why I liked your profile, Reno. Like you've clearly put thoughtfulness and effort in. And I think that really speaks volumes. Usually when I'm scrolling, I'm trying my best not to filter through like ego stuff. I'm usually trying to slow it down and I'm trying to feel my way into the energetics of it. Because I know for me, like if I swipe because of appearance, it's not going to be compatible for me. If I swipe because I feel drawn energetically to this person, then I usually will find I have a better resonance with them and it translates better when I meet them in person. So positive energy is definitely one that I would kind of gravitate towards. Um, and then kindness in the eyes and smiling. It's amazing when I'm swiping how many people don't smile on their profile. Like they don't show their teeth or anything like that. And I'm like, how come, right? And then I always wonder, I'm like, are they insecure about this and things like that? But I think smiling is so important. And we all have very unique smiles. Like that's, I think, so beautiful. Like we all have very, very unique smiles. So smiling is just something that really draws me in my opinion. Um, and then stating what they want. I love somebody that like knows what they want and they've stated it. Like for you to put God in there, like it's bold and I love it. Right? Because and I'm the same way. Like I'm very explicit. Like this is what I want and then it weeds people out. Because I don't want to have to do that manual weeding process. I want the universe or I want the app to do it for me because I want people to be more compatible. And then the last one I wrote was compatibility. So I'm just always looking at what they write. That's the most important thing for me. Pictures are important, but I would say, what is this person putting forward as far as, who they are, how they show up in the world, these sorts of things. So things like, well, a couple things that are really, really important to me, I would say would be like demisexual or emotionally available. You don't have to be demisexual to date me, but I prefer it. But emotional availability would be probably enough for me to proceed. Doesn't drink would be a very important thing for me if I'm going to be in a long-term relationship with them. For just dating and having casual stuff, I'm very okay with people drinking, but I wouldn't want it in a long-term relationship. And then this one's a little bit of, like I thought about should I put this one down, but I represent myself as moderate politically. I like to think that I can see both sides of the spectrum, and I think that's important. So if someone's like hardcore, like far right or hardcore far left, like we're probably not going to be a good fit. So I like somebody that can kind of see the world in the grayness of our world, not just in these extremes of black and white. Um, so yeah, that's important. And then I just want to reveal kind of what's coming up. Like even in your intro, Michael, I felt like I've just been kind of feeling down with this whole thing, like with dating and dating apps, and I just feel like, ugh, it's just it's a heavy area for me because I find that there's just so much incompatibility out there. Like I just feel like I'm not compatible with so many people. You know what I mean? And it's a frustrating thing for me. And I think um, and it's hard not to slip into that. Is it something that I'm doing, right? Like what is this? But I kind of know in my heart of hearts that it's not. Like I'm representing myself as who I am and what I want from the world and a relationship. But you know, to your point about being in, you have these people coming into your sessions and being like, "Oh, I can't find love anywhere." And then the other person comes, "I can't find love anywhere." And these people, it's like I honestly think there's more to it, and I think it's about attachment. I think, you have people on the avoidant side of the spectrum, which is a lot of gay men, whether you're fearful avoidant or you're dismissive avoidant. And I think these people want love, they want intimacy, but they're completely terrified of it. So they either self-sabotage subconsciously by not being authentic or not putting things on or hiding on their profiles because they're afraid of rejection or whatever it might be. But I think, and so that for me, that's I think the frustrating part is it's like I see this and I have so much compassion for it, but there's also a part of me that's like I want to inspire people to do the work to get out of those holes, right? Because I know, I have so much compassion for it because I know the pain, I know what it feels like to want to hide myself and not be in intimacy because you're afraid of being rejected by it. But then there's a part of me that's also impacted by this, right? Because I don't want to be with people who aren't available. So there's a lot of people that are weeded out from my pool because they don't have the capacity to show up and like meet me how I want to be met, right? So maybe it's like a grieving or something. Like I feel like there's a bit of anger in my system right now, but there's also a bit of grief around like the lack of connection in my life that I want, but it's just not available to me, at least in the ways that I want it. So I had to bring voice to that because it's just very alive for me.
Yeah. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people would, I think a lot of people do feel the same way, which is why sometimes it's not the time, right? It's not the time to
Yeah.
be on an app. It's time to take the hiatus. There's lots of other ways to do it.
Yeah.
So, or sometimes dating, like dating is just not a thing. And the universe is like, no, don't focus on this, focus on something else. Your
Yeah.
time will come. But yeah, I think that would resonate with a lot of people out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Can I
yeah,
I want to respond to that briefly because there's this interesting thing that I discovered through my work, like just the work that I've both experienced and maybe facilitated in some contexts, um, whether it's authentic relating or the work we do at the Body Electric School in workshop. And it's that, and you've probably seen this too, both of you, in your workshops and coaching and things like that. There's something that happens when we're in that space and I find it so magical. I can be sitting in a room full of people and I come in and initially I'm holding all of this conditioning and all of these perspectives and judgments and some of them are conscious and like front facing, but some of them are working in the background and creating barriers to me being in love and connection with the people in the room. And I remember someone said, by the end of this weekend, you'll be in love with everyone in this room.
Mm.
And I started to see this kind of diminishing and dissolving of all of those conscious and subconscious and unconscious barriers to experiencing love and connection with everyone in the room, and the
Yeah.
ways in which I also guarded myself. That armor started to fall away, those projections started to fall away. And by the end of that weekend, I was literally in love with everyone in that room,
Mm.
and could be in love and connection with every person in that room, regardless of their body type, their skin color, their gender, etc. Like all of that just fell away. And
Mm.
so I am really curious, in a space that is so physically and superficially driven in a lot of the ways, and as a group and a community that is dealing with a lot of trauma, and healing and evolving. Our spaces and opportunities like that, the thing that creates more of, what you're describing. And I know it's possible because I've seen it happen like within minutes, minutes, hours over a weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't think it needs to take a lifetime, but
Mhm.
it is a lifetime of work because you've got to keep coming back to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I hear you. I'm with you.
Yeah. And you make such a good point because I think for me that's where my frustration lies. Right? I do this for a living. I get to bring people together and I get to watch the hearts melt. I get to watch the barriers come down and it's like but yet there's not this venue or vehicle for me to be able to do this because the the apps, in my opinion, they actually perpetuate armor and they
Mm.
perpetuate projection and they perpetuate judgment because we're literally looking at somebody for 6 seconds and then swiping. And what we're usually swiping with is judgment. Nope, ugh, gross, yuck, right? And we're doing this process where we're almost like discarding people, you know? So we're not getting the opportunity to let those judgments and stuff come down. And I think that might be what I'm frustrated with, is it's like I'm just kind of tired. I'm tired of the apps. I'm tired of the online shit. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm exhausted by it. And it doesn't, you know, COVID probably made that, you know, more intense because we were all on that. We didn't get to see each other for a long time, but so yeah, you make great points, and I love the fact
Yeah.
that you're able to have those experiences. Yeah.
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 And as much as that's all true, it still works for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is the number one way, since I think for the last 10, 20 years, that people are meeting their partners, straight and gay,
Yeah.
especially if you don't happen to live in an urban center. I know that apps are really, for a lot of people, whether you like it or not, the only way really to have, uh, that accessibility to that many people. So I mean, we talked a lot about how it maybe isn't the best for a lot of reasons, but for a lot of people, it does work. I mean, I'm sure viewers and listeners out there now can think of people they know, or maybe their own partner they might have met online.
Mhm.
Right. Funnily enough, for me, I've been online for a long time on all the apps, and I've only met one of my partners online. The
Mm.
rest were all
Mm.
in person. But anyway, again, that speaks to my, living in a city where I live, in a village where I live. Like, it's very easy for me to meet people in both instances.
Mhm.
So for me, first of all, I want to talk about that smiling thing because you clocked me correctly. People who have met me at the gym or in bars, like, oh yeah, I talked to you. I've seen your profile on Grindr. I've seen your profile on whatever these apps, and they're like, you're so serious, but when in person, you're not at all, and you smile a lot. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And Matt was correct. It's because I have insecurity about my smile, my teeth. So I usually post these like super serious photos where in my mind I think they look good, but other people are like, yeah, okay, it looks good, but it doesn't showcase the truth of your personality and your aura.
I love your mouth, by the way. You have a
Mm.
beautiful mouth. Yeah.
Thanks, baby. That's just the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a very, very good point. And again, this is where getting feedback really helps, right?
Mhm.
You know, feedback from people who know you, and also people who don't. So when I go through these, I'll look at it from an objective lens, and it's really nice to get that. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that you clocked me on the smile. So now my profile has lots of different photos, and some of which are smiling, even though I don't necessarily think it's sexy, but it shows that I actually do have a bit more of a lighthearted side.
Mm. Yeah.
So what's the question? What catches my attention? Yes. So a lot of what you guys said, if I am swiping, or if it's the grid on Grindr when I was on Grindr, something obviously needs to catch my attention, right? That's what it's all about. So if I can get a sense of who you are, great. In that first bit. So the way my brain works is obviously you see a picture. So that picture, like it or not, has to be something that I'm attracted to. If not, then I'm just going to swipe. There's no way around that. I'm sorry. And then I'll be like, okay, what's this profile? What's he all about? He looks cute. What's he all about? And I'll like read the profile. Now, if you don't have a profile in there, you've lost me, because like that was an opportunity to really sell me. And if there's nothing there, then I'm like, oh, well, that's a shame. Like, what's this guy all about? So reading that profile, though, if there is something in there, that can make it or break it. What you write in there, for me, definitely matters. People say, oh, who reads profiles? I'm like, bitch, I read every profile for sure. I read it, I check it. If you have an Insta link, I'm going to go there. I'm going to do a deep dive into who you are, because I want to know, based on that, if I'm going to send you a message or not, right? Or if I'm going to swipe on that. So, like, I'll give you an example. If someone writes in there that they're really like, if a picture with like lots of plants, and like you can tell that they're a plant daddy, I'm like, oh my God, I love your monstera. I need to talk to you about that. Or something that gives me a reason to talk to them is amazing. Like, give me a reason, like give me something in your profile that shows me who you are, going back to Reno's point about originality and authenticity. And if it's something I share with you, I'm going to message you so quick and be so excited to talk to you. So show me who that is. And remember, guys, you're not trying to get 1,000 matches. You're trying to find one. So don't worry if you're not getting that many matches, right? And by the way, you can even do this with emojis, because I know some platforms don't give you a lot of bio to write. So when I had Grindr, I even said, talk to me about colon, and I had like a whole bunch of emojis, and the emojis kind of represented things that I enjoyed. So maybe like an airplane, or, something like a plant. spirituality, the yin yang symbol. I know I had that in there. So, that can also help as well. Yeah, give me a reason. That's my thing. If you can give me a reason to message you, that is what I'm looking for, more than just looks.
Hmm.
I'm curious. I have a sub question. I said that the feedback I got from guys was that I present more seriously than I am in real life. Have you guys got any feedback from guys you've met online about your profile?
I usually just get people, or like they think I'm a huge hiker, an outdoor guy, which I am,
Yeah.
because I just a lot of my photos are very outdoorsy. So that's usually the feedback that I've gotten.
Not me. No, not really. No. I think most people say I am how I present, but I will say this. I do feel like there have been people who have said that maybe I seem a bit more like serious sometimes than I am or something like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I have gotten that before, like not all the time, but sometimes I'm like, "Oh, interesting. Okay." Yeah.
Yeah, it's I used to have a lot of the same kind of photo. And then that's another thing I've done is just switch it up. So there's a lot of different types. Like some I'm with people, others I'm not. But the first one is like me. Here's my face. So you know what you're getting. I'm not hiding behind anything. You can see everything. Well, not everything. But yeah.
Okay, but I'll tell you a little secret. On my you saw my Hinge profile
Hmm.
on Grinder, totally different situation.
Mhm.
I'm like so my emoji at one point was an eggplant. There was one picture of me, which was like me post gym in the elevator in my little like muscle shirt, right? Um, like with the pump on, and then like my hidden album, which has not safe for work pictures in it, and then some other like cool shots or whatever. So it's real, and there was no write up, right? So
Oh,
I was just like, listen, I know where I am. I'm
yeah.
on Grindr, so this is what you're gonna get, the
Yeah.
sexy, like edgy side of me, right?
Yeah.
But it seems to have captured a lot of attention, and continues to. So that's really fun.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's like we talked about last week. You don't go into the convenience store looking for a 7 course meal. But
Right.
convenience store is great if you want a
Right.
bag of chips,
Yeah.
and Reno's got the bags of chips.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, listen, I know where I am. All right. So here you go. The goodies. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Now, from our audience and listeners out there, tell us what you love to see on dating apps. Let's get a conversation going in the comments here on YouTube of the things you want to see, the things you like to see. Let's make this a positive experience. So we named a few here. Put in the comments there what you enjoy seeing on dating app profiles. Now, remember that we continue these discussions in our community events. Every Thursday, we host either a sharing circle or a connection circle that you could attend. Connection circles are where you get a chance to discuss the same topics that we talk about here on the podcast with other members of the community in small breakout rooms of 3. Sharing circles, on the other hand, are larger gatherings where you can share your own experiences and insights, or you can just come just to watch and listen. Either way, we have something for you every Thursday. So go to gaymensbrotherhood.com or just make sure you're on our email list and we will email you all the details. All right, let's go to our second question. What is the biggest mistake you see people making on their profiles? Reno.
Yeah, this is a fun question. Well, I think the first ones are obvious. Like if you don't have photos, right, which does happen, it totally happens. It's wild to me, but it does happen, and I get it. Some people are about discretion and want to kind of chat you up first and then send you pics. But if you don't have photos, like I'm not really checking for you. And if you don't have writing or photos, I mean, if you have something written, I might be inclined to engage with you, make it interesting. But if you don't have either, then no, sorry. Um, I think those two. Also, you mentioned this earlier, Michael, and I really appreciated it. If I can't see your eyes, um, That's an issue for me too. And I get it. Some people are insecure about this stuff. Someone sent me like three different pictures of them with sunglasses on, and I was just like, can you send me a picture of you without sunglasses, please? Like, I want to see your eyes. And I get it. I get it. Like, I used to have insecurity about my eyes too, like I understand. Why is beyond me because my eyes are gorgeous, but society, conditioning, blah, 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 right? So I totally understand, but it's like I want to see your fucking eyes, you know? Um, and then there's this other thing I'm gonna share, which is like, okay, I have mixed feelings about this, but that how to win me over question on or prompt on Hinge, I actually don't like it at all. And here's why. I'm not trying to win you over. I'm trying to connect with you, right? We're trying to connect with each other. And so when I see that and then like someone write, I mean, it depends on, I guess, how they respond to that prompt. But when I see it, sometimes I'll just immediately swipe because I'm kind of like I'm just not trying to win you over. I'm not interested in that dynamic. And maybe I'm taking it too literally and seriously, but I don't know. It's just not my thing. When I see it, I'm like, bye-bye. Um, and the last thing I'll say is when they're when the profile's like too curated, like there's something about effort and intentionality, but like I don't know. If you're just like posing and flexing and like, I don't know, it's just like I'm like, no, I'm not into it? So I would say that's my short list. I don't know if I'm missing anything. Oh yeah, take yourself too seriously. Do that. Yeah, that you will lose me. If you take yourself too seriously, you will definitely lose me. Yeah.
This is such a fine balance. I can just hear people listening to this, but like, wait a minute, you want me to take it seriously, be intentional, but also not take it too seriously? Like I get why this is very overwhelming for a lot of folks out there.
It's tricky. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tricky because okay, well, and thank you for saying that because let me clarify, I guess, right? The nuance is this. It's like when you wake up in the morning and you, let's say, make your bed, right? This might be like a terrible example. Um, Two people can make their bed in a completely different way. Like I do it intentionally and playfully, maybe not seriously, although last night one would it's hilarious because Cam's here and I was like making up my bed and I got annoyed with him for not putting the pillows up straight. I was kind of a bitch about it. So like, not one of my sexiest moments for sure. But and then there's the person who's like playfully making their bed and sort of adorning or curating their space. I think there's a difference in energy, I suppose. So like, I don't know, take a breath, have fun with it, be playful, be intentional, right? But intentional doesn't always mean like serious. Like,
Yeah.
notice if you're getting rigid and anxious as you're creating this profile, and if you are like, step back, take a breath, take a break, take a beat and then like come back to it again with fresh energy and maybe ask one of your friends to like join you,
Yeah.
say, hey, like I need a little bit of help here because I'm getting a little too in my feels about this. Help me find the fun in me again,
Mm.
help me see what you see.
I did that recently with a couple of friends. We had some drinks and I pulled out my Tinder and they wanted to see
Yes.
who I had matched with and the conversations in my profile. And it was really a vulnerable moment. I was like, and these are like best friends. They know like literally everything about me. So there's nothing to hide. But I was like, they were like checking me, like, wait, why do you have this? Like, why are you doing this and why are you doing that? And what's wrong with this guy? Why aren't you talking to him? He's great. And I'm like, really? Is he? But it really opened my eyes to, and I was like, you're right. He is a great guy. Why am I like just kind of like letting this die on the vine? This conversation. I mean, so if you have that opportunity, and I know a lot of people don't, but that's a great thing about having someone that you can talk to about these things is you can really get that objective opinion and ask these questions that maybe like the one about me smiling, like I didn't have photos of me smiling because I was insecure about my smile. And it wasn't until someone opened my eyes to that, I was like, oh, well, this makes so much more sense, right? So if you can get that, third party feedback, go do it.
Mm.
All right, Matt. What's the
Mm.
biggest mistake you see people make on their profiles?
I have a long list.
I thought you might.
Yes,
I
I
thought you
knew
might.
it. I knew it.
My highly
Yeah.
critical self came out, and
It's so
it
good
maybe
though, because I learned so much from you and your like critiques. It's great. So I welcome
yeah.
it.
But I'm realizing I need to check that a little bit because maybe that's why I'm not attracting people. I can be very critical, right? And of myself as well, which is likely where it comes from. But so yes, the first one that I wrote down, and these are in no specific order, but shirtless overload. Again, I'm not talking about Grindr, Scruff, these sorts of places, but on Tinder, if every one of your profile or if every one of your pictures is shirtless, it's just like no, like I'm not down for that. I like to leave a little to the imagination. You know what I mean? Um, so that would be one. And then so this is probably the biggest one in my opinion, saying what they don't want. So I see this a lot. It's like, oh, if you're conservative, swipe left, or if you're this, or if you're that, or if you drink, or if you, right? And they're telling everybody what they don't want. Well, we know how the law of attraction works. It works based off of what you do want, and you call that in. So really get clear about what it is that you want and own that, and then put that out there. Like, I want someone who's liberal, or I want someone who lives sober, right? Instead of saying I don't want somebody who drinks, right? Because it's just going to put people off, in my opinion. And I take that as like angry messaging, right? When it's coming from a place of frustration or anger. And I've been there too. Like, I've even noticed when I sometimes go to change my profiles, I want to go into that energy of like, this community frustrates me, and I want to just tell everybody how frustrated I am by the community. But I'm like, okay, this is going to totally repel people because not everybody's going to be in that energy. They're going to be in the energy of love, and I'm seeking and I'm hopeful. If we all can find ourselves in different moments. The people that are hopeful and have their heart open to looking for love, they're not going to be responsive to people that are telling the world what they don't want, right? I think that's a big piece of it. And then just little effort, like little effort into your profile, only one picture, no bio, like those sorts of things. It's just, I don't care how attractive somebody is, it's an immediate left swipe. If you have nothing written in your bio, it's immediate swipe left. Or if it's very little written, I'll still swipe left because I'm not, it's a sign to me that if you're not willing to put effort into the process of finding love, then once we are in a relationship, you're going to likely exhibit that same trait, which is you're not going to put effort into the relationship. So I equate those two things, and it's not always going to be that equation, but I do see like effort is effort, and where we distribute it in certain areas of our lives, it still shows, our character, in my opinion. Um, and then on the other side of that, it would be people that are like, I'm open to whatever, right? Like they don't have any boundary or parameter in what they're seeking. It's just like, I'm open to whatever. And for me, that's kind of like casting a net out, and it's like a people pleasy thing. It's like you don't want to say what you want because you're worried people might reject you or you might not find what you're looking for. So I like somebody to not be too rigid, but not too open to be like, I'm just going to go with whatever, you know what I mean? Because it's like, yeah, it's just not who I am either. Like, I like to have a little bit of certainty in my world. Um, and these are just like things that kind of like they just don't work for me. So not smiling, or sunglasses. Usually those are like big red flags for me. Um, Dirty mirrors or a dirty background. So like somebody that's taking a selfie like and there's like toothpaste splatter all over their mirror, and like, you know what I mean? Like, or like heaps of laundry all over their bed and stuff like that. I'm like, just like it's showing the opposite of intentionality, like what you were saying, Reno. It's like, um, you know, I like somebody who's a bit curated. Like, they're gonna be mindful of, oh shit, there's toothpaste all over my mirror that I'm gonna be taking a photo in. Maybe I should clean that before I do that, right? Because I know for me, that type of thoughtfulness is what I'm drawn to. Like, I would want a man who noticed those fine details and would exhibit that in our relationship, right? So, overseeing those things would be a yellow flag for me. I wouldn't say it's a red flag, but it's a yellow flag. Um, Duck lips, immediate left swipe. Duck lips, or like pretentious energy. Like, it's just, yeah. Excessive filters is like one where it's like you can tell that it's just like there's no flaw on your face or nothing. It's just like a perfect filter. I'm like just not down for that. And then the other one is people like posting pictures with like all your friends. where like I'm like, and that's your main, and I'm like, who am I even looking at, right? So it's like if you have all these people in your picture, or again, pictures with like you and then you've put an emoji over somebody's face. It's like, come on, like just take a picture with just you in it. You know what I mean? Like there's these practices I think that are just they show who we are and the effort that we're putting in. And I want to just also recognize too, this is me being very highly critical, and I'm sharing this data as like, I've done lots of research. Even taken like a workshop on this stuff, like how to exactly curate a profile to find your soulmate and these sorts of things. And this is a lot of information that I've extracted from, so if you want to create a good profile, yeah, follow some of these tips. They might lead you to what you're seeking.
You're so thoughtful. It's funny, a couple of things came up for me. And this is why I love listening to you critique in a way because I learn a lot from it. And one of the things you mentioned about the mirror splatter, I like there was a part of me that was like, "Oh, I'd probably let that go." But then I thought a bit more deeply as you were speaking, and I realized it does say something to me about how you operate because I know for me personally that if people are leaving mirror splatters in the bathroom and like that's okay with you and you are down to live like that, we might have issues, you know?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, we'd have to have a conversation. I'd have to really like you, like a lot, and be okay with cleaning up after you a little bit. Because yeah, so I never thought of that, but thank you. And then the other thing I thought was like, I was like, you kind of sound like what I imagine the universe to sound like in a way. Like, I don't know what it was, but you were speaking, and there was something about the precision and the clarity that your filters invited that I think is actually like quite powerful, you know? I think there's something to be said about kind of holding all of that lightly and maybe, sort of, yeah, holding it lightly, but like honoring it. And still having some openness, but I loved hearing all of that. I was like, oh, the clarity that invites is really powerful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Hmm.
The
Thanks for that
clarity's
reflection.
sorry, the clarity is super important because the analogy that I use, I love a good analogy, is dating apps is just like walking through a mall and we're shopping, we're looking for something, right? Uh, let's say it's shoes. You're looking for a pair of shoes, and you're walking down a mall, and the storefronts just say store, 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 close, close, close. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
What makes us go into a store is the storefront, the signage, so
Yeah.
AKA what you put on your profile photo, and then something that says, "Hey, Michael's running shoe store." It's like, oh, great, cool, that's what I want, right? And it's the
Mhm.
same thing. So if you are out there not being specific about what you want and what you're looking for, people are just going to swipe right by you because they don't know that you got the shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
that's such a great analogy, Michael. I love it. And to clarify what I was saying earlier and to piggyback on what you just said, it's like if I go into the mall and I know that I'm looking for a bright orange neon suit, right? Like that's what I'm on the lookout for. And in some ways, maybe that's what's inviting itself into my frame of reference as a result. Now, if I walk past the store and I see this like dope sequins suit and that also turns me on unexpectedly, I might go grab that off the shelf and purchase that instead, right? So it's like, yeah, be clear and also be open. You might
Mhm.
discover something unexpected that you're like, wow, actually, I this is better than what I thought I wanted initially, you know? But the clarity, I think, yeah, I agree. Totally. Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. And yet I think the thought process is, oh, if I'm too specific, I'm gonna people are gonna be
This.
like not repelled by, but I'm not gonna get enough attention. And it's like marketing. They teach us this in marketing,
Yeah.
right? You have to be specific with your niche so that you're talking specifically to them and not just trying to get anyone and everyone. Like we don't want anyone and everyone. You want a bright orange suit. But hey, if there's a sequence one too, right? So if I'm a store owner, I just put I have clothes in my store. Or,
Mhm.
might come in, he might not. He's probably going to go to the one that has the bright orange suit that he wants, right? Not mine.
Mhm. Yeah, good points.
All right. What was I think you guys covered everything that I had wanted to say. So I love all of that. The photos, obviously, I get it, guys. I get the I don't want this to be all about photos. Okay, well then don't be on the apps. Okay. We are not we're not falling for the person when you're on an app because you don't know them. They're not there. They're behind a screen. You're falling for a profile. Be
Mhm.
clear. Like profile can, if you so choose, lead to a person. That's what this is. I said the same thing last time. These apps are a search engine. They are not where the dating happens. You're falling for a profile until you meet them in person, and then that opens the door to meeting the person. So, unfortunately, in this space, pictures matter. Have a lot of them where possible. And it's 2025. Don't give me this blurry stuff, please. Please. Okay. Phones have like HD 4K. Like, I know you got the phone. Don't tell me you can't take a good photo of you or ask a friend to do it as well.
Yeah.
My Tinder and Hinge have 7 photos, 7. And then when I was on Grindr, I had 3 in my main profile, but I also had 3 separate albums. I had an album that I would send to the tops. I'd have an album that I would send to the bottoms, and then I would have a best of collection kind of for special occasions.
I love it.
Um, I guess besides that, what I would add is how people interact. And I know we're kind of talking about the profile, but you guys covered pretty much everything. So I will say something that I think that, as I said in the beginning, a mistake I see a lot of people make, and I am 100% guilty of this, is when I'm on an app, it's like I naturally forget how to be a human and how to connect. And the way that I text or message people is not representative of how I would if we were on an in-person date or if I was meeting them in person in any situation. So I think that is where I have to constantly check myself, and I invite everyone out there to check yourself. When I'm getting full sentences, it goes back to what Matt was saying about effort. When I'm getting full sentences and when I'm responding in full sentences, that is a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
Versus when it's the impersonal one word, not putting any effort. Yeah, okay, cool. Into what's up, right? That kind of stuff. You lose me. And again, I'm sure a lot of you out there have chatted with me on these apps, and I've done that to you, and I apologize. So I get it. It's when you're in that space, it's really hard to be intentional and conscious about how you communicate and the words you choose. Um, I like a lot of us do, volleying the conversation, asking open-ended questions. Two-way traffic is really important. And
Mhm.
listen, I don't even mind if it gets sexy right away. That doesn't bother me. But not in a like into top bottom, how big, like the typical stuff. It's like if you want to flirt with me, flirt with me. Like let's get sexy with it, but let's have a little bit of a banter, like a sexy banter, not just like throwing it right out there. Um,
Yeah.
and then my favorite one I would say, show me that you like me. So I guess the opposite of this would be like if you like someone and you don't tell them or you don't show it and you don't flirt with them. So that's a big mistake, is if you are into somebody, not taking it off the app and not taking that next level and not showing them you like them. And that's how people get stuck in this app purgatory, I think, is they're too afraid. There's the attachment stuff that Matt was talking about. There's a million reasons why, and they're valid. And maybe these apps are a good place to work on them, right? Maybe if you had um, these issues where you're like, oh, okay, I want to make that connection, but something is preventing me. Look into that. What might that be? What is preventing you from making that next
Mhm.
connection? Because I love it. I love it when a guy's like, hey, listen, you seem really cool. Like you're pretty cute. I want to get to know you better. How nice is that to hear that? And I'm like, wow, good for you for having the guts to say it, first of all. Even if I don't respond in the same way, if I don't have the same feeling back, they have they have earned my respect completely. And if I'm going to let them down, if I'm going to say sorry, I don't feel the same way, I'm going to do it with a lot of love and kindness.
Mhm. Hmm. I want to just say one thing about like when you first start talking with somebody, it really is should be like ping pong. Like I send you a question, I take a bit of interest in you, you answer, and then you have a question, and that's how you play ping pong. If you're not hitting the ball back,
Mhm.
it's going to be really hard. And this is again one of my biggest frustrations. And I'm just thinking right now, like, why do people do this? I think it's likely there's avoidance probably, but it was also that gay men like to, I think, have a lot of guys on the go, right? And if you have 10 guys that you're talking with at one time, how on earth are you going to give them all undivided attention and ask
Yep.
questions? You can't, right? And I don't know what people's capacity is, but I have basically a full-time and a part-time job. I'm like working all the time. So I don't have time to be on the go and chat with 10 guys at one time, right? I also think it's disrespectful to do that because it's like you're not really able to give somebody, what they deserve. So just be mindful of that. I'm not going to say like don't have got multiple guys on the go, but it's like are you actually able to offer your full self and be able to show up for this person and get to learn about their full self if you've got your fingers in all these different pots? It just doesn't, you know, it can make it tough. So, yeah. And then a lot of us might be wondering, well, why can't I find the person I'm looking for, right? Well, maybe we're not putting the effort into the people, right, in a quality way. We're focused more on quantity than quality, and then that's might be a barrier to establishing deeper connections.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you nailed it. And one thing I like about Hinge, which I just got on couple, like I guess a month ago, is Hinge won't let me have more than a certain amount of conversations. They'll kind of say, okay, you've reached your limit. You need to like figure out what to do with the ones you already got, which I actually quite like.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh shit, you're right. I need to figure this out. So either I meet them or, I unmatch them if it's not a match or something.
yeah,
And then it kind of filters that out because I think you're right, Matt. I mean, at least for me, that definitely speaks to me sometimes is there's too much on the go. I'm already a very quick guy. So again, slowing it down, I think will lead to a much better experience.
yeah, yeah. Do you guys, I have a question for you. Do you guys, if you're going to unmatch from somebody, do you let them know or do you do anything or do you just unmatch?
Just on that.
Sometimes, but generally not. I
Yeah,
mean, because at that point, if it's gone stagnant, like, I don't know. I'm just like, okay,
yeah,
like I think it goes without saying.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll
Yeah.
review the conversation again to see like, okay, what like do I need to give this a second shot? Do I need to like rekindle this if I want to? And I'll look at it and kind of suss it out and say, yeah, no, I think I gave this the shot I want to give it. Or sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about this guy. I should see what he's
mhm,
up to. And then I'll let that sit for like a day or two. And if they still don't reply, then I'll just unmatch.
yeah,
I've never met someone who was actually interested in me as a person, right? Whether like relational, like sexually or, in terms or romantically or even just in friendship. I don't know that I've ever met someone who was, and maybe this isn't fully true, but I think so. Um, who has just kind of left me on red, like in life, Like if someone's into me, they're into me, and if they're not, they're not. And
yeah,
and I would say vice versa, more or less, right? So I don't know. I just kind of look at it that way, I guess. I'm like, it's pretty clear to me pretty quickly, whether they're into me, whether I'm not into them, and yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'll be a little more lenient in moments of like uh, lenience. I don't know, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
mm,
One
That's my
thing
filter.
One thing that
Yeah.
I've noticed recently, and this is a tough one, but it I people will I get wanting to get off the app, but if you want to get off the app to get onto another app, then I'm like, okay. Like follow me on Instagram. I'm like, are we all just here looking for people to follow us on Instagram?
Ugh,
It's sometimes it's very clear to me, like, because they don't engage with me. They're like, okay, follow me on Instagram or chat with me on Instagram. I'm like, why would I chat with you on that app when I can chat with you on this app?
yeah,
no. Yeah. No, no, no. That happened to me once actually, and I was just like, yeah, let's go over to Instagram. Then I followed him, but we didn't even message
Right.
on there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is stupid. So I unfollowed him there, unfollowed him on the original app. I was like, goodbye.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this.
I
Yeah.
think I think a lot of guys out there are using these things as filters to their
Yeah.
Instagram just to build that
No.
build that following.
Ew.
Yeah.
unbelievable, unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Any last thoughts?
Mhm.
No.
No.
All right.
No.
Okay. Well, to our viewer and listener, thank you for joining us today. I want you guys to go back and play back this episode as many times as you need. And if you're looking for, personalized advice with your profile, come to the workshop. I want to thank you to Matt and Reno for providing, as always, your wisdom and insight. And reminder, rather, that this podcast and YouTube channel are listener and viewer supported. So if you enjoy what we're creating here, you can support us by making a donation to the show using the link in the show notes. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, just go ahead and tap the thanks button and you can send us a donation that way. By the way, guys, you can also subscribe to listen to the episodes before they are released publicly. You can do that on Apple by going to the early access option. And then you get access to the episodes about 2-3 weeks before they are released. All your support helps us to continue making content for you and supporting the community. So we thank you so much in advance. And we hope to see you at our next event. Thanks, guys.